All right, welcome back. Another week, another two-man booth. Two former playoff contenders here this evening, myself and Mr. Skip. Welcome back, Mr. Skip.
Thank you. Yeah, this is not my favorite pod I've ever done. I'll tell you that right now.
We will keep the tone melancholy throughout the entirety of the podcast. We will not be enthusiastic about anything we talk about.
Good.
Um,
That's what I plan on doing.
and we can kick that off with my defeat, my kick to the nuts at the hand of Willie. I gave him the name Will He Ever Lose earlier in the year, and he showed why he was so good to begin the season. He's hot again. Sleeper, if you're looking at the shared screen, doesn't really show the proper scores, so I gotta look at it on my phone. But I lost by about 50. I lost by
Hmm.
one Josh Allen week, is another way of putting it. I think like I was basically I battled back after 1 week and was basically at like even heading into the late afternoon games on Sunday in week two. And yeah, I mean, Josh Allen did something that I think only one other quarterback in league history had done with three passing touchdowns and three rushing touchdowns and put up 52 points and absolutely buried my chances of advancing out of round one. So kudos to Willie. I'll be rooting for him the rest of the way. Seven seed picks up the dub.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I understand wanting Willie to win it because then you can say that you lost to the champ and no less. Um, the gap was 53 officially, 307 to 254. So even Josh Allen alone doesn't cover that gap, and he had 52. I thought he broke a second. I thought it was like a record breaking 2 weeks in a row where he broke a crazy historical record um, with the three touch passing, three rushing. Maybe someone else has done it. I didn't think someone else had, but no one else had done, or four people had done the, passing touchdown and receiving touchdown on the same play. So literally historic numbers for Willie against you, which is, tough to beat. Even though you do have, a Hall of Fame, lock in Hall of Fame quarterback on your team. But I know this hurts because I lived it myself in the same exact time frame here. All of his guys really stepped up to the plate late in the season. It seems as if all of his guys are on teams that still, want to keep winning games. It's not like a lot of tanking teams here, as far as I can tell, barring a few players. I mean, I guess that goes the same for your team and most teams at this point, really. But yeah, this hurts as the 2 seed, the 7 seed. There was too many upsets this weekend, and we're all upset about it. I can say that.
Yeah. This is one of three matchups this week over the course of the 2 weeks where the winning score topped 300 points too, which is pretty crazy. We talk about, 130 per week kind of being the benchmark of success. And, I basically got there. I was at 254, so, 127 average per week.
Hmm.
And just not even close, not even in the ballpark of defeating Willie. So, I don't know what these teams were on in the first round of the playoffs, but it was a tough one. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up in the next round.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your matchup was tight. It was the tightest of the matchups that we had. It was also, well, I guess also Troy and Johnny's matchup was very close, but and this was the lowest scoring matchup of the 2 weeks. You came into week two with a lead, and then Cam, on the back of a strong performance from Tua and his Lions players doing well, and Juwan Jennings catching two touchdowns was really huge for him as well. Unfortunately, you had Debo up against Jennings, and Jennings outpointed him by like 20 this week. Just a tough matchup. Cam strikes again in the postseason. He's as inevitable as death and taxes in the postseason. So the 1 and the 2 seed both go down this week.
Yep. You said it best. The 1 and the 2 seed just taking it to the chin. All I can really say is, the background I chose for my camera is very fitting of how I feel. I do feel like I'm in existential crisis as far as the fantasy realm is concerned. Um, my biggest takeaway, I've had some time to digest this now. It's been a few days. I've gotten my mind off of it and back on it, because it's just hitting you in the face every day. But like I don't know the lesson I take from this. Like where do I go from here? I've had the worst season in history with a 2-22. I've been really active during successful seasons and not so successful seasons. This season, I would even say I took a step back with my activity based on waivers and free agents and trades and what have you. And I don't know what strategy works. But then you got a guy like Cam, and I do need to say that props to Cam for just he's clearly good at this. There's something that he knows, or maybe there isn't something he knows that the rest of us, doesn't know. Maybe it is, pure luck, but you can't really say that because he's clearly successful at this. And you got to give it to him. Mad respect to Cam for his fantasy, skills. But like, I don't know personally. I don't know the lesson I take from this. I don't know what I do from here to change the outcome at this point in the season where it's completely out of my hands. I've either done enough or I've not done enough. But I don't know what the gauge is for that. So 246 is not a good number. I definitely would have liked to put up more. I talked about it last week with a lot of points on my bench last week. I did it again this week. Where Rome Odunze, I just had no faith in him, and he goes for 2 touchdowns. Like, what am I supposed to do about that? How am I supposed to know that that's going to happen? There is no way to know that, but it sucks that I can't translate that onto, a starting lineup. And I'm starting a waiver guy, Parker Washington. Maybe that's the mistake, but like, you could argue that doing the other thing is the right thing. You could argue that picking up the hot hand is the thing in the playoffs. You pick him up, he just had a great game. He's going to do it again, So it's tough to find the lesson here is what I'm trying to say. But one thing is for sure is Cam is good at this shit, and we have to root against him. We cannot
Yeah.
have a Patriots style dynasty in this fantasy football league for fun. It won't be fun anymore if Cam Cooper turns into absolutely, he already kind of is at that status, but it's got to stop. Josh, I'm pretty sure he's playing him in the next round. We're counting on you. Trevor, or excuse me, I guess Johnny or Willie, we are counting on you. And that's where I'm at. I don't even want to talk about the matchup anymore. It's about stopping neighbors gives me DK. I mean, how inappropriate is that? This guy's throwing jokes on us. This guy was trolling us all season. He had the worst start. He was like 2-6, and he's in the fucking second round of the playoffs, being the number 1 seed. Get out of here.
Yeah, made the playoffs with a losing record. Basically, only got in because Alex didn't set his lineups the last few weeks of the year. Got absolutely fleeced by Josh in a trade late in the season, and somehow still gets in and still advances. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to tell. I mean, so there's like a theory about Warren Buffett that like basically if you gave enough people a coin that someone would flip a heads 300 times in a row, and kind of like look like a genius who could always flip heads, right? It's hard to say that that's Cam because there's only 12 of us in this league. So, it's not like there's millions of people in this league and someone just always comes out on top somehow. But there's some like Warren Buffett-esque-ness to, Cam's run of like, it felt like there's no way this is a year where he makes the playoffs, let alone advances to the semis again. And somehow here he is. Yeah, I agree. I mean, as much as I'm rooting for Willie, I think I am definitely rooting the same amount in the opposite direction for Cam the rest of the way, just to give the rest of us hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's interesting that you said that too, because he's had different strategies. I mean, usually he's stumbling and bumbling in the playoffs, but usually he's the one who wins the trades, or usually he's the one doing the most research and kind of putting a lot of time into it. Maybe he has put in some time to it behind the scenes that we haven't seen as much lately, but each year it's like a different strategy, and yet here he is. So it's remarkable in one sense, but it's he's trolling it. Like he's like, I don't know how to say it. Well done, Cam. That's all I can really say. Like I don't get it.
Let's talk about what the one that was the actual closest matchup this week, and that was Johnny against Troy, separated by just over 3 points here. Um, a tough way for Troy to go out. He puts up 300 points and does not get a win. His point total would have won two of the other match, or actually only one of the other matchups, but would have beaten like half the other playoff teams. He just was unfortunate in coming up against Johnny, who was even higher in the rankings over the last 2 weeks. Good performance. He got 40 points from Jamar Chase. I mean, his Bengals almost did enough to give him the win,
Mm-hmm.
despite a performance from Johnny. It was really that Seattle game for Johnny. I think a lot of us were watching that one live. He got 17 from Jackson and 35 from Charbonnet. That is
Unreal.
just unfortunate way for Troy to go out. But yeah, Johnny, the 4-5 matchup did not disappoint this week.
No, no, it did not. That's a good observation there. The closest matchup is between the 4 and the 5, as it should be. Unbelievable they scored both over 300 points. That's 150 points a game. Troy's been doing that though. He's been on 150 a game for several weeks now, and all of a sudden Johnny does it. Um, I think this is anybody's championship right now between those four. But I'll stay on this matchup. I mean, Zach Charbonnet, what the heck? He's a backup running back doing that. Tyreek Hill finally has a good game. Is this a high point game?
I think it was. Yeah, he
It
had
is,
one.
yeah. You know,
He had one that was close in the regular season, but this was his high point game.
yeah. So that's huge. You're arguably your best player. He was probably his number one pick. Shows up with his most points in the season for a game like this. That's clutch right there. Just unbelievable that this is the game. I mean, I got to feel for Troy. He put a lot of effort in this year. He was. It seemed like he had a trade offer with every single person in this league. You could tell he was just getting after it week after week, just trying to figure out where to find value. Hitting the waivers, and then still comes up short like that. That is unbelievable. I mean, even having two top five quarterbacks all season, getting Jamar Chase the number one receiver as he's the number one receiver. He really, you know, played all of his cards, and you lose by 3 points in the first round to the guy who scores the most points or second most points in the playoffs. Like, oh my gosh, that's gotta hurt. I mean, if I'm in existential crisis, I can't imagine where fucking Mudang is. Fighting Mudang. Like, I don't know where hippos can reach, but that's got to be some black hole of a place that you can't even decide. You can't even determine if you want to watch football the rest of the season. I don't even think he cares. I mean, the Dolphins maybe make something happen here, but like I don't see him watching another snap of at least pro football for the rest of the year. And Johnny, well done. He was on that playoff line all season. It feels like every week we seem like to talk about, is he going to make it? Is he not going to make it? Is he going to, is Eric going to pass him? Is Willie going to pass him? Here he is showing up for 305, 305 representing Miami. Unreal. Well done, Johnny. He's still in it. And it's anybody, I think it's anybody's championship right now.
Yeah, Troy was my pick for league champ, and he goes down. This feels like one of those games where the underdog pulls off the upset, and the head coach is being interviewed at the end, and he says, all the credit to the guys on that other team. That's a heck of a football team that we just played. I feel like that's the speech Johnny would have given after this one is like, man, Troy gave it everything. That was a heck of a football team on the other side, and just Johnny came out with the win somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think there was a podcast earlier in the season where we were debating who was going to win the championship, me, you, Troy, or the field. And most
Mm-hmm.
of us were taking one of the three of us. And unfortunately, we're all sitting back and watching the semifinals. So those of you who bet on the field, you're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's truly unbelievable in itself. All in the first round, arguably the three best teams based on points for. and just wiped clean, just like that. It's too bad Clorox isn't in the playoffs.
Our last matchup, Trevor put up a very respectable 270, but a sizable deficit still to another team that put up 300 points in Josh. Josh exercising some demons here by having his best performance come playoff time. He's known more as a regular season guy and tends to fade this time of year, but staying strong to get through to the semis. That's got to feel good for Josh.
Yeah, the Garendo thing was huge. I mean, if you flip it and put him on Trevor's team, it still doesn't make up the gap. But well, I guess it does because it's a 50-point swing. It's not a 25-point swing. So I
Yeah,
mean, whatever.
who he has instead, and who did he start him in place of Singletary and whatnot? But it
Exactly.
might make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So that's a good showing from, that's a good effort from Josh to get the best guy, get the guy who is clearly going to have, find some success. Nobody knew he was going to go for 25, but you get that guy and he did it, washing that, that accusation that he can't perform this time. He made it to the second round and he passes the three best teams, even though he was a 3 seed. He's now the top seed in the playoffs right now. So credit to Josh. I mean, you gotta throw out some credit to Trevor too. He was in there all season. I'm pretty sure he was the 1 seed for at least 2 or 3 weeks there. Probably in the middle of the season, early on or whatever. But great season by Trevor there. Great season all around. But just well done, Josh. I don't know, Jordan. There's the trade. Jordan Addison going for 35. That's that trade piece that he made work in his lineups in the playoffs, winning him a game. Who else was in that trade?
Chase Brown.
And there you go. Look at that. 2 key players for him, scoring
Yeah.
56 points in the playoffs, getting into the next round. That's well done by Josh. Josh learned his lesson. He knew he needed to make the trade with his nemesis fleecing him, but yet they're both still in it, and now they play each other next round, I believe.
All right. Without looking, I have a trivia question for you. What
Okay.
was the combined number of bench points between these two teams this week? What would you guess?
I know both teams are have a lot of depth. I remember talking about how they're deep bench Josh's last year, and he kind of kept that through going this year. And then Trevor, I know he's had always a squad throughout the season. I would say maybe between the two of them combined, was it like over 100 points?
Negative zero point 0.5 points.
No way. There's no way. Oh my God.
They had a bunch of
Wow.
Trevor had a defense that are -4. Josh had David Moore who got 3.5, and that was all the bench scoring between these two teams.
Oh my goodness. I did forget about the huge bye week, week 14 bye.
And they still put up 130 and 160 each, despite having so many guys on bye, and so
Yeah.
many guys didn't play or didn't perform.
Wow.
So
Unbelievable.
pretty impressive from these two teams that they basically used all their weapons this week and were able to do so effectively.
Yeah, that makes me think. I mean, I've had this thought in the back of my mind for a few years now, probably. But this year in particular, because I've never remembered a week 14 bye. I feel like this is the latest bye week I could ever remember. And
Yeah,
I'm curious what other people think, whether or not the playoffs can't start until the bye weeks are over, just for the sake of having everyone's team available. Because, I mean,
yeah.
granted, maybe I'm saying this because I lost, but even so, Cam had more bye weeks than me and still pulled it off. So would it be something that people feel strongly enough about to convey their opinion whether or not playoffs can't start until the bye weeks are over? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm curious what the thought process is for different, from different perspectives. And it's just a question I'm posing to the audience.
My 2 cents on it is I'm okay with keeping the current format. I like the 2 week playoffs because I feel like it's a little bit more fair that you don't have one guy go off and all of a sudden you're eliminated. Like you at least get a redemption week. And I mean, it's not like it was a surprise, right? So you knew heading into the draft when the playoffs started. And if you're going to pick a guy with a week 13 or week 14 bye, then that's just a chance you're taking, that he's not going to be available in the playoffs. But on the flip side, you're going to have him available every week of the regular season, whereas other guys are going to be on bye, so maybe it helps you get to the playoffs. So
Mhm.
I'm okay with it because we're all kind of dealing with the same amount of information. And, it's just, you just got to do your calculus during the draft and look at those bye weeks of the guys that you're picking up and decide, are you willing to sit them in the playoffs, assuming you get there.
Fair enough.
But I'm interested to see what other people say on that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk quickly about the toilet bowl. Both of these flipped this week. We came into the week with Rob and Jason both trailing in their matchups, and the 9 and the 10 seed are able to turn it around. Or excuse me, the 11 and the 12 seed are able to turn it around on the 9 and the 10 seed and pick up a win. So we've got the two worst teams in the league avoid the toilet bowl. They'll be playing for 10th place, and Alex and Eric going head to head to see who has to complete a task or face relegation.
Yeah, definitely a surprise there. I think everybody guessed either Rob or Jason for that toilet bowl. Maybe there was a few other I guess candidates, but I thought it would be between Rob and Jason, or yeah, Rob and Jason. Um, so I'm definitely surprised by this. I mean, I said it with Eric's team. He had a down year. I'll give him the break of we had the draft on the same weekend as a bachelor weekend, so I understand the focus might not have been there for the draft specifically. And Alex was also on that, in Scottsdale on that weekend as well. So maybe just a case of the I'm partying, not drafting, syndrome, I guess, if that's a thing. Um, I mean, and it's fitting that these games were kind of low scoring, right? I mean, between between Jason and Eric, Eric put up 207 over 2 weeks. Like, oh my goodness. And then Rob, he put up 244 over 2 weeks. So that's not terrible, but those are the four worst teams in the league. That goes without saying. It's I'm glad none of them made the playoffs because they all would have instantly lost with those kind of numbers. I mean, I barely beat Rob with 246. So, you know, everyone else was above that. So I mean, that's a good sign that the best teams, the eight best teams, made the playoffs and the four worst didn't. So I like that. As far as, calibrating the league or whatever. I'm interested to see if Eric and Alex throw any effort into not losing. Like, will they set their lineups? That's your standard. That's your first sign. Will they pick up anybody tonight on waiver? Or I guess, did they pick up anybody on waivers either today or next week? Will
Alex
they go
made,
for free agents?
Alex made a defensive substitution today. He got the Panthers defense 2 hours ago. So that's a
Oh,
good
he got
sign.
he got the number 32 worst defense in the league. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're telling me is his effort?
They're playing like Dallas or somebody, though. I think they've got an okay matchup. Yeah.
Literally 32.
Yeah.
Literally.
Hey, and he spent $14 on Tim Patrick. I mean, he does appear to be
Okay.
trying to win 11th place.
Good. Well done. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough, Alex. There we go. That's what I like to see. Eric's gonna have to counter that. I mean, didn't he blow all his fob on week one and week 150, and then like a couple weeks later on 30 on somebody?
He did. Yeah, he did. So he's a bit hamstrung at the moment.
All right. Well, that'll be a fun one to watch. That'll be interesting to see, if they can break 250. I mean, they barely broke it. They didn't break it these past 2 weeks. So let's see what happens these next 2 weeks. And they get a
Yeah.
break by not having to play 17 and 18. I'm sure they're like, when is the season going to end? They're probably paying attention to their actual NFL teams. Um, but
I
okay.
won't
I mean,
I won't touch on the losers bracket because who cares about those? But let's
yeah.
let's look quickly at the semifinals matchups we have. Josh has already played the highest seed he could possibly play the rest of the way by defeating the 4 seed. So Josh is rewarded with the 8, and then he would play either the 5 or the 7 if he advances. Currently, Josh is favored by about 14 points over Cam, and then Willie is favored by about 12 points to upset Johnny. Is that how you see these two playing out? Josh and Willie locking horns in the chip, or you got something else?
That one's tough. I really got to focus on this week or these 2 weeks because I know Willie's going to struggle maybe in week 17 and 18 because I know he has guys who are on teams that have already locked up their division, like the Bills. So if he gets to the ship, he might have a situation. But for these next 2 weeks, um, I could see it going either way. I could see Cam pulling this off. We just said it. He's trolling. Like we just said that he lost the trade between him and Josh. It would be so unironic if Cam were to beat Josh and the players that he traded for, like ETN and whoever else was in that trade, gives it. I mean, he's got ETN on the bench right now, but it would just be so Cam to like have those players specifically get him past Josh, which is very much not out of the realm of possibility. This is Cam we're talking about.
Right.
Championship pedigree, you know, doesn't go away. So
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here with these matchups, I feel like this could be a really high scoring kind of game. I mean, Garendo is about to play here in 10 minutes against the Rams, and they just played a game 42-44, so they're tired, but also clearly it could be very possibly be a shootout, and he's got Cup in the same game. You look at you look at Cam's team, Tua versus Houston. I think that could be a shootout. And then you got Jameer Gibbs versus Buffalo. They also just played in that 42-44 game. I could very much easily see Detroit and Buffalo being a very high scoring game, and this being the highest scoring matchup. I I couldn't give you a confident pick, but I can confidently tell you that I'm rooting for Josh without question. Like I am not afraid to tell you my bias, but I cannot tell you my pick. Um, and then I guess I'll take a look at two. Well, I guess Willie's a Giants fan. I was gonna say two Dolphins fans, but Willie's a Giants fan, embarrassingly enough. Um, I don't know what to think of this matchup. I mean, Hurts has been having a crazy season. So is Josh Allen. So you got arguably two of the two of the top five quarterbacks in the league right now this season going against each other. Um, I tend to go to people's flexes. Maybe it's just me. Um, that I don't use my flex necessarily for my weakest players. I go based on times of when people are playing each other. So if I have a bunch of 1 o'clock games, I try to put them all in one clump. So when I'm looking at it during the game, I don't have to keep scrolling up and down to find them all. They're just all in the same clump. So I don't assume other people do that. And right now, these are not their strongest players in those flex spots. Um, even though Judy's hot right now and it's against Kansas City, he could easily go for 2 touchdowns. Like he could easily be the main targeted guy for Cleveland just to hope to keep up with Kansas City. And he gets a long one and he gets, a garbage one. So Judy could go off and I guess I can't call out each and every single player going off or in this game, but um I think I don't know who I'm rooting for, but I think Willie does have the stronger team. I'll give you my pick in this one. I won't give you my bias in this.
Yeah, I think Sleeper has the projections right. I'm gonna take Josh and I'm gonna take Willie over the 2 weeks to meet in the championship. Yeah, I just think I mean we've said it all year, like Willie is gonna live and die by the Bills. They're being pushed for a potential 1 seed. They're gonna keep their foot down, like they're not gonna let up. They've clinched the division, but they want home field advantage. So they're going to be super motivated the next few weeks. I I just think Willie's got enough firepower to get by Johnny, and I think this is where Cam's luck runs out. I mean, I know he can't be counted against at this stage of the season, but maybe this is a season where the script flips and Cam falters in the playoffs and Josh gets to a championship matchup. So I'm gonna take Josh and I'm gonna take Willie.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very likely. I think we're all rooting for that, just for the sake of not having a single championship, champion just absolutely run this league. Interestingly enough, Willie has the highest manager rating, 92%, and none of the other three teams in the semifinals are even above 90%. So he's clearly making his lineups at the best rate so far. That doesn't necessarily mean he's scoring the most points of those four teams, but he's making his decisions have been the best formula for success for his team. And that will give me that'll give you the edge in a round like this. So I'll take Willie and I'll take Josh. So Willie and Josh in the championship. Between those two, we'll get there. But I guess Sleeper also has those, like you said. But here we are. I mean, these four teams, I would not have guessed that these were the four semifinalists. Like at any point in the season. After week 1, after week 12, absolutely not. So, well done for these guys sticking with it for the long season. All these guys had waiver pickups. I don't know if Willie or Johnny had any trades going on. I know everybody was in talks. I don't know if they actually completed any trades. But high effort season. I think this has been an exciting season. We're still, in the thick of it. We got 4 more weeks of football. That's crazy. It seems like a lot of football left, but it also doesn't at the same time. So, I mean, I'll be tuning in with the NFL playoff, picture. But our playoff picture was definitely something that you don't see very often. The 1, the 2, and the 4 seed go down. 3 upsets. I mean, you couldn't predict that on March Madness if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, good luck to all those who remain in the semis. Wish it was me and you, bud, but we'll
Yeah.
uh, we'll have to cheer from the grandstands the rest of the way.
Yeah, we'll wish everybody luck in the playoffs except Cam, and then we'll pray for Troy to make sure that he's gonna, stay strong and not lose sight of the goal. Um, that's the thing about this. It's like this is fantasy's fun and it's so easy to get really, locked in and be, affected by that. Like your favorite team losing, you're in a bad mood the rest of the day. I've lost, I'm in a bad mood the rest of the season, but I know there's always next year, hence my name. I can't wait for next year already. I'm already excited about, obviously we're in that dynasty league, so there's a bit more excitement as far as looking ahead because of the draft specifically. But I'm excited. I'm just I love this stuff. Even when I lose, I hate losing, but I love fantasy, and it'll always be a really good tool for us to stay in contact with everybody. So well done, everybody, and I wish everybody luck except for Cam, and I'll proudly say
Absolutely.
that. No problem
Yep.
saying
Good luck to three of the remaining teams.
that.